Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda here from Visualize DNZ. A slightly different video today. I am just going to do a top 5 of what I consider essential supplies for crafting. So they do cross over any type of craft, but in particular journaling or journal making. These would be my top 5 supplies. And it's really hard to narrow it down to 5 because it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? But let's just get into it. Cutting tools. And I'm going to include my metal ruler because if you've watched my videos, you'll know a lot of the time I'm cutting with a metal ruler and my craft knife. It's quick, it's easy, I can measure it out on my mat. It's what I find the easiest go-to for cutting straight lines, cutting multiple things, if I want straight cuts. So they are 2 of my essential tools, and then a good sharp pair of big scissors. These are okay. They were only like under $5, but they do have a slight curve in them when they cut. They don't quite meet straight. So I've got to be careful how I use them. I really need to get a better pair, but they're okay for now. You know, I get by, I'm kind of used to them. I've been using them for a number of years, but as long as they're sharp. And a nice pair of small scissors for fussy cutting. Now these are particular, they're by We Are Memory Keepers. They're particularly useful for fussy cutting. They've got a nice point on them. They're very sharp. I like that they came with this little guard on them. Nail scissors will work. Any type of little scissor, again, as long as they're sharp, and some do have a rounded tip. I've got another pair of little fussy cutting scissors that are more blunt on the end. I prefer a sharp point so you can really get into those fine details. So they're my top tool. Essential tool that I consider essential for paper crafting, for journaling or journal making, are cutting tools. So I've kind of lumped everything together in groups because otherwise like I'd have to leave stuff out and I just can't draw the line in some places. I'm just going to pop these back where they live, right beside me. They're always right at my right hand, and I'm right-handed, ready to go. Okay, number 2. And these may be self-explanatory to you, but glue. So a good glue stick. Now, I've found that a lot of people have their favourite glue stick. So this is the one I prefer, and I think this is the one that Lydia, my friend on February and June, I think she prefers this one. I think. It's Amos glue stick. I've been using it for years. It's pretty standard here in New Zealand. It's not super cheap, but not super expensive, kind of in that middle range, and I found it fairly consistent quality. Please excuse me, gone froggy. A sip of coffee might help. So this is my go-to brand. If I have to use a different one, then I just can't wait to get back to this one, and I go through quite a lot. So experiment, find out what you prefer, and then once you've found one that you like, then I recommend, for your sanity's sake, is that you pretty much stick to it, because you build up a familiarity with how it works, how much you need to apply, how reliable it is, how it works, how much glue you get in the stick itself. This particular brand comes in several different sizes, and this is my favourite size because it works out cheaper per gram. So glue stick, and then some liquid glues. So I've got 2 here. I did have a favourite brand that went out of business, and I was very sad about that. And then I found this brand, and this is a good brand too. It's Australian made. It's now my go-to for liquid glue, and I buy their Tacky Craft glue. So it's like a PVA or a school glue, but it's a good one. Like it holds, and it dries very fast. It is very tacky, and I like that because it grabs hold, but it means that you don't have a lot of time to fiddle around with things if you put it down in the wrong place. So that's the one I use the most And then there's this one, which is the same brand, and it's their Premium Craft Glue. And I love this. It's an alcohol-based glue, and I love it for holding down heavier things like metal embellishments, ribbon and fabric and things. It doesn't tend to show through fabric. So I really like this one. Again, it's fast drying, being an alcohol-based one. It is a bit smelly. And then I've got one more that I haven't got in front of me, which is their same brand, but their wood PVA glue, which I use when I'm gluing two wood pieces together. So that's the glues. Okay, number 3. I'm not sure whether I'm doing these in order of importance or not, because it's getting kind of hard to distinguish what's more or less important. So I'm going to grab these out as number 3. Ink pads, stamping pads. My good old Distress ink. It's got a big ink stain on the lid because I put my sponge on top. I've only got the one Distress ink in Vintage Photo. I do want more, but you know, it's going to take me time to build up. So if you like distressing, the Distress inks are brilliant, and you can do different things with them. I tend to just distress. Then a good black ink pad. I like this archival one from VersaFine. It's particularly made for fine stamp details, so it stamps really nicely. This is one that was given to me, so it's old. I've re-inked it a couple of times. It's still going fine. But yeah, a good black ink, and preferably one that's not water reactive. So this one is not water reactive as long as it's dry. So you can go ahead and do things with water over top and it won't run or bleed. So a good black one, standard, like basic, that's essential. I consider a black stamp pad essential. And then I've got a range of other ink pads here. I particularly like the coffee and sepia ones. And these archival inks, buy them, I think it's in packs of 4. And I found it's the most affordable way, because you don't need the big full stamp pad size of everything. Often, if you're just doing little bits here and there, all you need is these small ones, and it makes it more affordable to replace them too if they run out, when they dry up. I've had these ones now for probably 3.5-ish years, and they're still going strong, still plenty of ink. And I've used the 2 browns a lot, and they're still nice and juicy. So when you're just doing little bits here and there, I think the small ink pads are perfectly adequate. So all the colours are not essential, but I thought I'd include them anyway, because they have become essential as part of my personal crafting. And it's great to have that range available to play with. Okay, number 4. Punches. Now you can get punches in all sorts of shapes and sizes and everything, and they're lovely, and I have got a whole bunch, most of which were given to me. I did buy a lot in my early crafting days when I was sort of late teens, early 20s, but everything since then has just been given to me, including this one, which is the latest addition to my range, which was given to me earlier this year. But I chose out circles as being one of the essential supplies. If you don't buy any other punch, then I recommend circles, because they're so versatile. You can make flowers from them, you can make butterflies, you can make clusters, you can make little backings for dates in your journal, or like there's just so many ways. I did a video probably a couple of months back now, where I did journaling cards solely with circles punched out of a magazine. So they're just so useful, and having a range of sizes is just brilliant. This is a little single hole punch. I was using that yesterday quite a bit, and this was probably one of the first ones I ever bought, was the little circle. And then this circle is a really good size. It's 3/4 of an inch, I think. And you may not have seen the video where this broke. I think it broke on camera. And I threw it in the rubbish bin, and my husband pulled it out and says, well, what if you take the plastic, because it had all the red plastic around, and it was the plastic that broke, and once the plastic breaks it doesn't hold on to the metal inside, so it just sort of flops and stops you effectively pushing down on the punching bit. He says, what if you take the plastic off? And I was like, no, I'll just do something else, or wasn't too keen. Anyway, he took the plastic off, gave it back to me and says, try that. So I glued on the presser bit, I glued it to the metal with this premium alcohol-based craft glue, and it hasn't come off. Like, it's stuck really well. And actually, it's easier to use than when it had the plastic on, somehow. And you can still see where to put your paper in. I mean, if you knock it over or something, this will come free, but like, it still works great. So I'm glad for my husband's suggestion. I'm glad he took action and did that for me. And the spring comes off as well. But, you know, I just have it sitting on my desk and grab it. So if you have punches like this is a Karl Craft one, where that plastic breaks, because it does break over time, especially if it's dropped or knocked or things, try this. And I don't need to buy a new one yet until I get sick of this, because it works perfectly good. So a variety of sizes of circles in my world is essential, because there's so much I do with them. I'm often just grabbing one or other of them, depending what size. You can make your own hole reinforcers from these two. Yeah, they're just so versatile. So that's one of my essentials on my crafting desk. They live on my crafting desk. They never get put away because I'm just into them all the time. So if it's something that I'm reaching for all the time, to me that tells me it's essential. Okay, now number 5. Guess is kind of a cheat one. Kind of? Yeah, probably, but I'm going to go for it. My number 5 is paper. Like, you can't paper craft without paper, can you? So it's kind of a given. But this type of paper, this neutral paper, any neutral paper, like, and I love collecting it. I don't go past any neutral paper if it's going for free, if it's available, if there's you know, a reasonably priced pad of neutral paper, I'm going to get it, because it's so useful. Backing journaling cards, backing tags, creating a neutral collage on a page so you can write on over the top. Like, I don't know where I'd be without this. So I've got packing paper. This is packing paper. I've got butcher paper. I hope you can see through the plastic. There's brown paper bags. So any brown paper bags I get, whether it's from the pharmacy or the supermarket or whatever, different weights, sizes, etc. I keep it all. And then there's other neutral pages as well, but I'm particularly looking at the packing type paper, the paper that's usually discarded. There's none in here because I keep it separate, but also things like tissue paper out of shoe boxes or jewellery. Sometimes you get it with Manchester or dishes that you buy, crockery, things like that. Tissue paper, florist paper, like any neutrally type of paper, maybe textured, maybe not, but it's great fodder for crafting, for journaling, for making journals. Thicker paper can become beautiful pages in your journal. So that's my number 5. It's like often a free resource, particularly packing paper. It's a free resource that you can grab hold of and use in so many ways. Again, versatility. For my essentials, I'm looking at versatility, what you can do with it. How many things does it lend itself to? So that would be my number 5, is that sort of paper. And then, you know, any paper. is fair game. Book pages were a close runner-up to this, and I was like, do I do both? Do I do one or the other? But I chose this because it is even more versatile than book pages. And if I had to choose a sixth thing, then I would say stamps. Clear stamps, rubber stamps, whatever. Stamps for stamping with, for decorating. And you don't need a whole heap, although you know, most people tend to accumulate over time a really good range. But for some basic stamps, I'm going to go ahead and talk about number 6. Stamps, things like numbers, alphabet, some basic shapes, tag shape or label shape, and things like butterflies, leaves, flowers, that you'll just find those very useful. And then if you're into the either the more masculine side or steampunk, grungy, those things, then you add in things like light bulbs or typewriters, vintage cars. Like, where do you stop? There's so many options. Maybe I need to do a top like 5 or 10 of my stamps that I use all the time. But there we go. I hope that's really useful, just talking about the essentials I consider. So this is my own personal opinion and my own essentials within what I do. Supplies, tools, things to get you started. If you're wanting to start and sort of not sure where to start, then I recommend kitting yourself out with some basic tools that you're going to need to create things. And then once you've got some basic tools, you know, grab yourself some paper from somewhere, any type of paper, and then just get playing. Just play. So hopefully that was helpful, and thanks for joining me today. I'll see you back for the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.